Beck12. Hi, how's it going?
Yeah.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah. We'll start soon. Do you guys want to check yourselves from your end? Go to the stream, take off, and just see how you're hearing, and see if you need me to change anything.
Hey,
Wait,
let me hop on.
Just up to you guys, because sounds fine to me. But yeah, if anyone in chat, if this sounds good to you or bad, let me know.
Yes.
Yes.
Otherwise, you guys can enjoy the 13-001 rare Irvine.
As he's looking at you all smug with his no-nos.
Oh god, he's a Krillin!
Yeah. All the Opera Omnia cards are Krillins. Except for Yang for some reason.
Yang is the only one deserving of a nose.
Yeah, Yang is actually relevant, so he actually gets the nose.
Yeah, I know, right? So relevance in Opera Omnia is determined by whether you have a nose or not.
Yes.
Hey, I'm not going to be the one to complain on that one.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's saying that. I don't even know how powerful Irvine is right now. I mean, he's ranged enchant / imperil, but
yeah,
he's only good for himself.
Look, I now just want to make custom cards of these that just have job Krillin.
Why did you
sniper?
like...
Why be a sniper when you could be a Krillin?
Because then you don't get owned 35 times in the same season.
Alright.
Which is fair.
Alright, I think we'll properly start. I'll continue reading Irvine. So put Irvine into the break zone. Choose one forward. Deal it 5k damage. Damage 5. So if you're new, damage 5 or damage X is if you've taken that much damage or less, you get to use this ability. And Irvine's is damage 5. Put Irvine into the break zone. Choose one forward. Deal it 9k damage. In pre-release, this card has saved my life. I don't know outside of that.
In Constructed, Opus 3 called it wants its starter cards back.
Fair.
In saying that though, the card isn't necessarily bad. First things first, I thought it was terrible because I saw it as... I honestly thought it was a tap ability, so...
Oh no, I saw it and I'm going, cool, block, kill something, block, kill something.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the card... Yes, Opus 3 called they want their meta back, but at the same time, this also has 3k more power than starter Vivi. And the cost is you can't sack it for the 8k damage right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is 1 more damage to get around that. It's damage 5.
I hate that Vivi's got upgraded and it's not a Vivi.
Yeah, well, it's... And also, the scope of this in the Category 8 deck, which has gotten a buff, let's say, out of this set, I just hate that it's an Irvine, because you have the backup Irvine, which is also pretty good.
Yeah. Should have been a Vivi.
Especially now that Category 8 is actually starting to worry about characters, not just forwards.
Yeah.
That being said, the hybrid card that me and Ryan have talked a lot about probably shuts this down completely.
Yeah.
Right. I think we'll move on to the next
one. It shuts a lot
one.
of things down.
Axstar. FFBE forward, 8k. When Axstar enters the field, choose one card with EX Burst in your damage zone. You may trigger its EX Burst effect. This effect is put on the stack. So it's not EX damage effect, it's on the stack like normal. Damage 3. When Axstar enters the field, you may search for one category FFBE character other than the card named Axstar and add it to your hand.
And the award for the most interesting design space of Opus 13 goes to...
Yep.
Yeah.
It's also our first legend of the day.
Yep. The guy that ever so slightly changed the rulings on how EX bursts work, else he would just fall over and die.
Yeah,
I feel like this card it's in a very, very strange space. Like, the interaction with the experts is definitely a very, very interesting concept, and it'll be very good to see a lot of decks that build around this. But how lucky do you have to be to get something good in EX Burst that you want to play Axstar to trigger again?
Yeah.
for
Like,
me,
there's...
go on.
Go on.
Oh.
Okay. Well, there's only so many 7-cost Odins you can play. So you'd have to, load up on other decent EX bursts. But even just, say, triggering a Belias, giving him haste, is not the worst thing in the world.
I was also thinking it also
That's fair as
depends-
well.
For me, it was Belias was the first thing I was going to say. The second thing I was going to say is how much of the Bahamut summon shell have EX burst on them?
Well, not the 3-cost Ifrit, so that's out of the question.
Yeah. So for me, it was going to come down to if the Bahamut deck can fit him in, maybe. I don't know about the feasibility of FFBE. Because at this point, and I'm glad all of us have done it, we're all ignoring the damage 3 effect, more or less.
I mean, the damage 3 effect is kind of ridiculous because you can search Citra and Fina, which, I've got some words for another card in the set.
Yeah, but I don't think this deck would fit into that deck shell, even if you did. I think this is going to be used for the EX or nothing.
Yeah, that's the main one, but,
At the
That
same
deck.
time, though, if you do happen to get something that says draw a card in your burst, and then you play this at damage 3, this is a 0-drop 8k.
Yeah.
Which is kind of relevant.
Yeah, super good. But yeah, at the moment, I feel it's just Schrodinger's Legend. It's both bad and good. Gotta wait for it to be broken.
Yeah, we need to see the feasibility, like I said, the feasibility of the Bahamut deck in the new meta, and feasibility of FFBE in the meta.
Oh, don't worry. I've got a couple of friends of mine that are working on decks which are basically 30 EX burst removal and this card. So
That'll be his home.
that'll be where he lives.
But will
And
he
if
make
that
it?
deck becomes...
But will he make it more than a troll deck? That's the question. Because that deck's existed for like all time, but it's just never broken too high into the game.
I guess we'll never know until we know.
Yep.
So Schrodinger's card.
Yep, Schrodinger's Legend.
Alright, we got the Red
Anyway.
Ranger. Imaginary Soldier, 2-cost DFF forward, 3k. For each job mannequin you control, Imaginary Soldier gets plus 1k. This does include himself, so technically his base is normally 4 unless you remove his abilities. When Imaginary Soldier enters the field, choose one forward opponent controls, deal it 1k for each job mannequin you control. I've had a lot of fun with this card.
Same.
This card reads really, really well.
Yeah.
Especially with the other new mannequins that have come out in this set. You can realistically build the deck with 12 backups and go to town.
Yeah,
And most of those backups are mannequins.
Yep. Mannequin's got a
Exactly.
massive, massive glow up this set, all thanks to 2 new backups that make the deck actually playable. And I love that.
Except when I play Dragoons, then what happened today happens.
Came close.
Oh
And,
no, they were fun.
you know-
Oh, they were all fun games. But I was sitting there with Dragoons going, I don't have my box yet. I have to play with a Opus 12 meta. I'm versing 2 mannequin decks. Oh shit, wait, I won? What?
Yeah, it
Why?
tends to happen when you're able to board wipe effectively. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
But no, Imaginary Soldier is super good. Initially, I kind of wrote it off because it's like, how often can you do a lot of damage? Because it seems worse than the Furion mannequin from Opus 2. Then I'm like, wait, he's a 2-cost 8k. Who cares?
Yeah. The damage is just there either to finish something off or just to or to help you swing in with the other mannequins.
Yeah, make it awkward for blocks.
Yeah. Yeah, but
Not
I'm
just
loving
that
it.
as well. If you have enough mannequins in play, you can remove small forwards very easily, and even some larger ones.
Again, it'll all come down to this one hybrid card that we'll get to eventually.
Yeah.
Clavat, 4-cost fire. Oh, I don't need to say fire. 4-cost FFCC forward, 7k. So, before I go into detail, they've made a full cycle of these cards, which I really love. Essentially, for chat, if you cast it with the cost of 2 other colors. In this case, Ice Lightning. So you need the fire, of course, but you can add Ice or Lightning if you're playing any hybrid or hybrid decks. You get bonuses as effect. So in this case, when Clavat enters the field, choose 2 forwards. If the cost paid to Clavat included Ice CP, freeze them. When Clavat enters the field, choose 2 forwards. If the cost paid for Clavat included Lightning CP, dull them. So you don't actually have to use all 3. You can use any combination for what you wish to do with them. I'm actually really liking these cards, but I don't know if they would fit in any real deck besides FFCC shenanigans. I feel this
I'll
is
be
a limited
completely
card.
honest. It reads like a limited card, but if Fire Lightning aggressive decks become a powerhouse in the new meta, this card is going to be in that deck. Just get 2 forwards out of the way, keep swinging.
Yeah.
This card, in that deck, it reads really, really well. You wouldn't want to play you wouldn't want to play it with Fire Ice because Fire Ice already has way too much going on.
Yeah.
But Fire Lightning is a deck we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, and given the really strong cards I got out of this set, I think, having this is going to help a lot. Just have another Shiva.
The reason why I'm saying limited is I won 3 games off this card alone in a draft.
Yeah.
I just played it, tapped 2 of their biggest things. I had an Armada, they were on 5 damage, start going ham with them 2 cards down. And a lot of the other ones do similar effects that are sort of on par with this, which is really good. I think they were really balanced really well, all 5 of them.
Yeah.
6, you mean?
Yeah, 6. There's
6? There's a
1
6th
for each
one?
element.
Oh,
Yeah,
6,
1 for each element.
Braveheart. That's right. That's right, we have ice and water.
Yeah, which, I think there is one that at this moment in time stands out above the rest, but we'll get to that when we get to that. But this guy is pretty good. I
do like we technically also have a dark one, because isn't there a dark forward that if you use certain colors you get bonus, or is it a light forward that...
Yeah, Chaos Mobius.
Chaos
Mobius. But at that extent, Chaos Mobius does do the 5k AoE if you pay it with fire. This just says, which doesn't necessarily get things out of the way. This just says 2 things are in my way, they are no longer in my way.
Yep. It's a Fire Lightning Shiva. Always good.
Yeah, and if we're going down the lightning fire route, you can also combine it with something like Kusith that dulls stuff, and you can just go down that route. And speaking of fire lightning, we are now up to our Black Mage. Another card that there's a full cycle of 6. It's a 3-cost Black Mage FFEX backup. When Black Mage enters the field, turn over cards one at a time from the top of your deck until a lightning or water card is revealed. Add it to your hand, then shuffle the other cards revealed and return them to the bottom of your deck. So this can at best be either a 2-cost backup or a 1-cost backup that gets you what you need or gets you your potential card to fix for your opposite colors.
So we've seen this effect before on the backups from, I believe, Opus 11.
Yeah, Opus 11.
They've fortunately fixed the issue of you can't search for these backups because a bunch of them in Opus 11 were FFCC, so you could just find the damn things. But I do really like that we're going for the reverse elements this time. So if you've got fire and you need lightning, you can go for that.
Yeah.
Also, were the other ones 1 color or 2 color? I thought the others were 1 color.
The other ones were 2 color as well, but going in the forwards direction. So the fire one went for ice or wind.
Yeah.
And then this one goes for the 2 behind. Personally, I like that you can now do Marshrit's Phoenix Porum Loop in mono fire.
Yep. Oh god, I didn't even think of that.
Multi-digs for Ritz, and this digs for Porum.
It does too.
I didn't even think of that, damn. I like this card more now, and it's a Black Mage, my favorite.
Yeah, it's the first thing I thought of when I saw this, and I'm like, okay. I mean, you probably still want the Earth for Tyro and stuff, but it's a thing you can do.
Yeah.
You probably want the Earth for all of the EX bursts that they provide as well.
That too.
And Shintoto.
Yeah, Shintoto, Tyro, Beastmaster is another FFTA. But the fact that you can do it is always helpful.
So we got ourselves a Zande, 2-cost Pictological 3 backup. This one's been really interesting. When Zande enters the field, you may receive 1 point of damage. When you do, choose 1 forward, deal at 7k. it does not say EX bursts are excluded, so those will trigger on this. And it has a tap, pay 1 fire, put Zande into the break zone, search for one card named Zande forward, and add it to your hand. I think this whole thing comes down to whether 7k damage is now relevant or not.
Let's put this into the perspective of 2-drop backups that deal damage for a second. If you have a look at cards like VB and Ace, they start with a baseline of 5k. The other one that we could potentially compare this to is Lulu from Opus 7. That did 7k at the cost of you sacrificing a backup, which isn't necessarily ideal. I feel like this card is probably the best of those because at early stages of the game, you don't mind taking a point of damage, and if you are running the forward Legend Zande, this fuels it.
Yeah.
It fuels its damage 5.
And technically, if you pop it, search for a forward Zande, they somehow kill it and you get another backup one, you just do it again if you can afford it.
Yeah. I reckon, and it also, gives you potential EX bursts if you want to run Axstar.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Though, for me...
This card is absolutely not to be underestimated.
No,
yeah,
but for
always
me,
keep it in the back of your mind.
I don't know why, I still feel I would prefer Blaze a little bit more, but it'll come down to whether ping damage is good or bad, which I think it's going to be bad. So this might just push it up.
It depends on how much you see ninjas going forwards.
Yeah, or other small line decks. Or how much you want to play Magisa.
Yeah, so
at the same time, I feel like 7k is going to be a magic number.
Yeah, definitely.
In the next set.
And also, it doesn't search for Emperor Zande. I just have to point that out.
It's name Zande. Yeah, you can't search for the Emperor.
Yep.
But yeah, that's one I've been sort of keeping aside to keep a look at and just check whenever I look at red now. Alright. Now, next card is another Class 0 Cadet. 2 cost, I'm bad with this. Shinque? I'm going to say Shinque until someone corrects me. Sink? Yeah.
Sink.
If you control 3 or more job class cadets, Shink gets +4 power. If you control 7 or more, it gets Brave. So they'll get both buffs. If you have 7, you get both of those effects because they're separate. And when it attacks, choose one character opponent controls, break it. Is Cadet Zero going to come back?
Welcome back to the Golbez Magic School Bus, everyone.
Yep.
Now, we're going to talk more about Golbez later on because there's going to be so many ways to build it now. I count at least 3 different ways to build Golbez going forwards.
And we're talking about both Golbezes, not just the one or the other. Both Golbezes have been given given some fun in this set. So are we going to go all the way back to set 1 shenanigans, but maybe a bit more fairer?
Maybe.
Oh no, this is going to be wildly unfair. Like, Golbez is going to be probably about as unfair as it was when it came out in Opus 1.
Yep. Thank God Amaterasu is a thing.
Yeah. I've been saying for the last, I think, 2 months, our group of friends have been talking about, Archfiends, and I just point at the set 1 going, but set 1 Golbez, and these cards!
Yeah.
And I've been looked at, well, not by everyone, so I'm not counting you, Squash Peas, but everyone's sort of looking at me like I'm an idiot, and I'm like, look, both are good, but I think you're ignoring the other half of this coin.
Yeah.
That being said, I got so frustrated I couldn't draft a bunch of Class Cadet Zeros yesterday because I grabbed this one hoping for them.
Yeah. But on the topic of this card, Class 0 is now looking a bit like WAF now that it has an unnecessarily big 2-drop with Brave. And you've got like a decent selection of backups. Like, you've got Carter, you've got Deuce, and this might potentially... Heresy, I know. It might make the Opus 9-7 backup actually playable.
Yeah. Outside of Tidal.
Outside of a ping deck or Tidal, yeah.
Or outside of Golbez.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, I think this card's sweet.
Yeah, another thing I would like to experiment with at some point.
It's
Yep.
another thing to keep in mind as well, that it's one of those things that doesn't say other than itself. So out of Golbez, this is a 9K.
Yep. This and 3 others, you're all good.
Yep.
Oh, this and 2 others.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, so 2 backups. 2 backups play it.
Yep.
Alright, here's one of our big ones. I've had to reread this a few times. This one I've been mulling, but 7 cost Vermilion Bird LC Katuna backup. When it enters the field, you may search for up to 2 summons and add them to your hand. Tap, remove all the summons in your break zone from the game. Choose one forward, deal it 2k damage for each summon removed by this ability. Another thing that might feed into the at-star deck.
Yeah.
And it's
Star Bird with a
possibly-
whole bunch of summons.
It's not just that as well. It doesn't specifically say fire summons, so you can use
Yeah.
this to fix colors if you like.
Yep. Good color fixing.
So I've
The
sort of,
initial cost at 7 is very high, but you don't
Yeah.
mind that, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if this was a 6 cost, it would have been broken.
well, that's what I was going
At
to say. I was
6, this would
comparing it
have
to
been a hero,
Minfilia.
at very least.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was comparing this to Minfilia when I was looking at it. It's another way to do something similar to Minfilia, but instead of 2 cards from bin, it's 2 summons from deck.
Yeah.
And that's what I was thinking. Yeah, the 6 might have made this a lot more prevalent if it was the same level as. Because with Minfilia, you just need to discard 2 cards, search 2 cards, tap 2 backup. So this one, you need to tap 3 or discard an extra card.
Yeah. But with that being said, however, this is also a break zone reliant card that gets around Mist Dragon. Because the remove summons from break zone is a cost, so your opponent can't respond to it.
Yep. I had to explain that to someone on the weekend for pre-release. That yeah,
Yep.
it goes through.
It's a
Just do
big
it.
deal.
Do it. I can't stop it. Go ahead. Though I
Yep.
felt bad because I think the person misunderstood it the first time. They thought it was how much they discard to it. I'm like, no, you
Yeah.
pick X out of your bin, and they're like, oh, I only have 1 in bin. I'm like, then save it, cast those 2 summons, then kill my stuff after you've killed my stuff. Especially with I kind of like the 5 cost cycle of summons in this. Alright, the next one, 2 cost selfie. Forward, 5k. For each forward other than fire you control, selfie gets plus 2k power. When a multi-element forward enters the field, you may pay 1 fire. When you do so, until end of turn, it gains plus 2k in haste. It has a special, 4 fire, tap, choose 2 forwards, break them.
Okay, so to me, this card is an absolute sleeper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It slots right into base versions of Golbez because it sits there going, hi, I am a 2-drop 11k.
Yep.
That is unprecedented.
Yep. Poor old Dadaluma, you just got replaced.
The big question I need to check, which I haven't had time to, is that second effect, that gets around the Golbez errata, I assume.
No, it
Yes,
doesn't.
it does.
Because
Ooh.
I think it doesn't because Edge doesn't either.
No, Edge does. Edge actually does. Because the forwards, like, it specifically says for Golbez that their entering effects don't trigger. So Edge's own, like, if Edge had its own entering effect, it wouldn't trigger. But because he sees 3 ninjas come into play, he gets 3 triggers of get a shuriken counter. It all happens at the same time. So if you do happen to have the extra fire CP and you find yourself multi-element 2-drop forward, you could just pay it and give it 2k in haste.
Okay, guess I'm rebuilding ninjas then.
Okay.
Ninja Golbez has been a thing for quite a while.
I tried to
but
do
it just
but
hasn't been as prevalent as other builds of Golbez because ninjas by themselves don't need Golbez.
yeah, I tried to do it at the start of Opus 11, and everyone told me, "Oh, it doesn't work."
Everybody told you wrong.
Yeah,
apparently.
I was gonna say, I believe it was enter the battlefield effects of that the cards entering don't trigger. I just wasn't sure about it, but I'm glad I asked the question actually.
Yeah. In short, Golbez is worded weird.
It's sort of gets around like trying to use the powerful entering effects of like other forwards, but when you've got something that reads when another forward comes into play, that will still trigger because it's seeing that forward come into play. So you get that instead of that forward getting its own entering effect.
Yeah, I think that's how it works personally, but I'm willing to be proven wrong, but I think that is how it works.
Yeah. But no,
anyway, back to speaking about how ridiculously good this is going to be in Golbez. To drop 11k, that could potentially give some of your other forwards haste. That's like you don't even need the special at that point. It's just holy wow.
I'm also kind of glad this is a selfie because, like, when it first came out, I wished it was a Zell. That way it could keep the seed candidate tag and be searchable by the backup selfie. Now I'm kind of glad it's not searchable by the backups. Well, it's still searchable by the backup selfie, but you've got to like be playing Tidal to be able to play them both efficiently.
Yeah. Card that gave me a little bit of frustration because Squash Piece had to point out that Onion Knight FFT is not an Onion Knight, and I was sad. So it's a 2-cost FFT forward, 5k, but when you're on damage 5, it gets plus 4k power and haste. I played games over the weekend where I kept, or last 2 weekends, where I had 3 of these in hand, waiting for my opponent to put me to 5, drop them, and win. It was dumb.
This card screams play me in limited, even if just as a card, but at the same time, it doesn't. It's sort of one of those cards where you just like, oh, I'm running 39 cards. I guess I'll play this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good last card to play.
It doesn't do much else. Then it's probably not worth warranting much more.
If it was an Onion
that
Knight,
it has in its own text box.
If it was just an Onion Knight, I would have said this could do well in an Onion Knight possible deck, because we've gotten some synergy for that in this set, but as an Onion Knight FFT, I don't think so.
Yeah, no. But at least it's a case of, cheat forward, sometimes relevant effect, relevant category, relevant job.
Yeah.
It's a limited card.
Yeah. And I believe there's an entire cycle of these as well, isn't there?
Just a couple.
Not in every element.
Okay. Speaking of another card that has a cycle, we've got another monster cycle. 1 cost, Iron Giant, monster. When Iron Giant enters the field, choose 1 forward, deal at 3k. Damage 3, it becomes a forward with 7k. Fun and cute, but I don't see anything outside of that.
This one's probably the second worst of the cycle of these.
Yeah.
And it's kind of so depressing because as a Final Fantasy VIII fan, you want Iron Giant to be good just because it's so painfully powerful to deal with in the game. And then they give it this.
No, you're not allowed to. No.
Yeah, no. FFA can never be good.
Let's move on.
Doesn't even deal 4k. Can't even use Magisa. What's even the point?
Yeah, you just play it to hit your own Magisa to search out what's it called, Forza, and then go
Yeah, but it only deals 3, so you can't even do that.
Oh, that's right. That's what you meant. Yeah.
However, this is where it gets really interesting because if you have an Iroha in play, this actually will trigger Magisa.
Yeah.
but then you just might as well play Samurais.
Being fair, if you're in fire, you're probably playing Samurai anyway, so it's not necessarily a bad thing at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just better slots for it, better things that do what it does better, and it's just, like hell, the what's it called? The Irvine is just a better version of it. It's in the same set.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Here's the first of the 5-cost summon cycle, which I've been impressed with, but I don't know if all of them are going to see play. Our 5-cost Bahamut EX Burst FFT summon. If you've received 5 points of damage or more, the cost required to cast Bahamut is reduced by 3. EX Burst. Choose one forward. Deal it 8k damage. If it's put from the field into the break zone this turn, remove it from the game instead.
I would probably call this less a cycle of 5 cost and more a cycle of damage 5 summons. Because all of the summons in this set have some sort of like powering up effect when you're at 5 points of damage. So I call these damage 5 summons.
Yeah.
As far as this summon goes, meh.
Pretty much.
Well, to be honest, I like this one because of 2 things. One, the Bahamut deck might still be relevant, and this is, I think, will be good in it. And B, we have the Altstar, and this is an EX burst. So combining those two or running Altstar in there might make this actually a slot in the deck.
Yeah,
For
but
sure.
I think
But
if
then you're
you're-
running this card.
yeah, that's the problem. Like
If
there
I'm
are
going to run an EX Burst Bahamut, I'd still probably prefer the 4-drop that deals 10k.
yeah, because that can also fill up your damage zone for Axstar effects, and is 10k, so it kills Neo X death.
Yeah, true.
Which is extremely important.
Yep, and I mean the 4 cost AK from Opus 4, you run that just because it's like decent damage for its cost. Like having to be a 5 damage for this to be a 2 cost, it's ridiculous as a 2 cost, but
3 cost.
the only advantage it has, that 2 cost, it's cost reduced by 3.
Oh, oops, I read that wrong.
Yeah, and yeah, and it being an EX burst is okay, but again, you probably want Opus 6 Bahamut.
Oh, there are better Bahamuts, but I'm saying I think this would be one of the ones on the list personally, but I have not played the Bahamut deck, to be honest, so I actually don't know.
The main reason why I'm not too high on this card is because it's dealing 8k damage. 8k damage hasn't been relevant in quite a long time.
Yeah, no.
But it was amazing during Opus 10 when you had the Ifrit. But if you want to deal 8k damage, you just run that Ifrit because it also pumps your fire forwards by 2k. You don't care about the fact that it doesn't have EX Burst written on it.
The one that's 5 damage, opponents taking 5 damage, do 8k? The 1 cost one?
No,
No, the
the 3-drop
the-
Ifrit.
Yeah, because I was also thinking there is that 1 cost of Freed that if your opponent's on 5, do 8k, isn't it? So it's kind of like that one, but in reverse against your opponent.
hmm.
Hey, we got a Palom. We haven't seen Palom for a while. 2 cost Palom backup. When Palom enters the field, choose one forward, deal it 4k damage. If you control a card named Porom, forward, deal it 8k damage. So we went from a 2 cost 8k with a condition to a 2 cost 8k with the condition.
Except this one's actually kind of good.
Because it's part of a searchable cycle. And it doesn't
Yep,
rely on you
searchable
dying.
backups.
And it doesn't rely on you
Searchable
being half
backup's
dead.
still relevant.
Yeah, searchable
Not
backups.
just that
is
as well.
super.
It deals 4k damage to Magisa, so you can go get something better.
Yep.
Yeah, I really like this one. It's also just
Yeah.
adorable.
Yeah, look at that smirk.
Yeah, like I was seeing people like chuck it
That
in.
cheeky rascal.
Yeah, I was seeing people chuck it in without even reading the second part. Porom, I don't need Porom. It's a Palom that does shit.
Yeah. I mean, we do have an incredible Porom forward, so that just makes it even better.
Yeah. So I would keep an eye on this. I like this card a lot, and yeah, I don't know if we'll be seeing Palom Porom combo anytime soon, but even without it, I think this might have some cool tricks. And I think one of the Palom forwards lets you search for a Palom, doesn't it? Or is it a Palom
No.
forward?
No.
Okay.
The 1-drop 1k Palom forward is if it deals damage to an opponent, or if a forward that dealt damage to dies, you get to sack that Palom to search for a Palom.
But is that Palom or Palom forward?
I think it's just Palom.
Okay. So you could do some fun tricks with the 1 cost, do some damage, die, search this up, finish something off.
Yeah. Or you could just play Leonora.
So
I prefer to just play Leonora.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Leonora good.
So, Larkisius. This card, I feel, is a wind fire card, even though it's a 1-cost fire backup. I feel you want any cards that can untap backups, because Larkisius does not activate during your active phase. When Larkisius enters the field, choose one forward opponent controls, remove it from the game for as long as Larkisius is on the field. We have a fire... Death Gaze is the other one?
Yeah.
Days, yeah.
Yeah.
I am actually quite high on this, purely because it's actually surprisingly difficult to get rid of 1-drop backups.
Hmm.
And you don't mind the cost of you can only play 4 backups this game.
And like I said, if you're in wind and
It's
you're
not-
activating your stuff, you don't care. You just tap it again
Yeah.
for...
Which, on the note of wind, it's FFCC.
Yep.
So you can go find it with Nordstalin.
Yeah.
Yep.
And again,
So
something
not
that's...
only is this a Death Gaze, this is a searchable Death Gaze.
And something else, if you say I've removed... Say you remove Neo X Death, right? And they play another one. You sack him, giving him back their Neo X Death to break both their Neo X Deaths.
It is quite good.
And that doesn't
yeah,
just
like-
work for Neo X Death. That works for any non-3
Light or dark.
multiple ones.
Yeah, only multiple, light or dark. But yeah, aggro decks don't mind sitting at 4 backups for the game. Windfire can reactivate it. Like, there's not a whole lot of opportunity cost for it in the decks where it wants to be played.
Yeah, I really like this one. Also, I don't know
I
why...
honestly see no downside with this card.
Yeah,
Also-
it's
also-
just so good.
I don't know why, but his art makes him look like he's just floating in midair. Because they're drawing his feet pointed down.
Yeah.
Let's see if you guys can unsee
You
that.
never know who could be.
Yeah. Our next card is Lunath. 2-cost backup. Warrior of Light, because that might be relevant. Pay 1 dullet. Choose 1 job standard unit forward or job Warrior of Light forward you control. Till end of turn, it gets plus 1k power and haste. You can only use this ability during your turn. Don't know if this will help in anything.
You'd actually be quite surprised. So here's my reasoning on this card. Refia can now search a backup that gives all your other Warriors of Light haste.
Yeah, like, giving Lena haste is just so good.
Not just that, correct me if I'm wrong, but Faris from Opus 12 doesn't specify job Warrior of Light forwards coming into play.
It is forwards, I believe.
Ugh. Hold on. Pull it out.
Okay.
When Faris or a job warrior of light, forward, unfortunately.
It's forward.
Oh well.
However, it can be cost reduced to 1 by the second effect.
Yes, you can play this for 1 using...
That's which is still surprisingly relevant.
Yeah.
Yep.
At the same time, I just like the fact that this card says haste on it, and it
Yeah.
says job warrior of light forward, so you can turn it into a it's already a relatively aggressive deck. You can turn it more aggressive, and again, Refia finds this.
Yeah. Might actually give you an excuse to run Refia again. I'll take that.
Yeah, and I just realized for the Lena, it comes in, it gives Lena the counter, and then lets Lena use the counter immediately, because this counts towards the backup number, yeah. So, yeah, if Wall decks are still out there and doing well, this could be an important card for it. And 2-cost red backup
Yeah.
that works with your deck is always solid.
Yep.
No, you guys changed my
That's
mind on it.
It's kind of like what Warrior of Light was looking for a long time, because most of the backups in that deck are water.
Yeah.
Needed
No,
good fire backups.
You guys changed my mind on it.
Hmm.
Alright. Oh, with our first new Arcfiend. 2-cost Rubicante forward. When Rubicante is put from the field into the break zone, choose 1 photo controls, deal it damage equal to Rubicante's power. Damage 3, Rubicante gets plus 3k power. And with
Oh my.
Archfiend Golbez that gets Archfiends back from bin, this could be sauce.
Oh, Ruby Kante, you've come such a long way since Opus 2, my boy.
Yeah,
You're so good now.
This card is
Fire.
very good.
he's
Yeah.
finally a man.
This card is very, very good.
Yeah,
yeah.
You would even play it in like with Opus 1 Golbez. Like you'd play all 4 of the Archfiends. You don't necessarily mind you're losing out on Barbaricia's ETB,
Yeah.
but you also get Barbaricia's end turn effects.
effect.
You just go get another Golbez.
And, you know, given the discussion we just had with Selfie, you also get all of Cagnazzo's counters.
Yes.
Delicious.
I've been calling this the Rubicante that loves all Golbezes.
Yeah.
Because it works in both decks.
Yeah, he works
Yeah,
with
he's a
all the
2-cost.
Golbezes. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And essentially being as a floor level card, like a 5k effectively having double strike, super good.
yeah. It
This
trades
card is really, really powerful.
without the damage
You
3
will-
buff.
you will
It
see this
trades with
very
the
often.
OX death.
Yeah. At worst, trading with a 10k is real strong.
Yeah. Now I started off not like when I first read this I wasn't sure, but after seeing it in the last 2 weeks I was like completely nope. I was absolutely wrong. This is amazing. I should have looked at it more better. Looked at it more
Closely.
the heroic that has been haunting my ass every time I open a pack. 6 cost Rain. Forward King. I'm saying King because Kings and Knights and that thing might actually be interesting this set. The cost required to cast Rain is reduced by 1 for each fire backup you control. I have cast this for 2 in a 2-color deck in a limited. When Rain enters the field or attacks, choose 1 forward opponent controls, deal it 1k for each backup you control. Damage 3, Rain has haste 7k.
This feels like a limited bomb, but not much else.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I love for this
Right.
card.
Like it reads well in Mono Fire, but at the same time, Mono Fire is still going Samurai, and they've got a far better 6-drop to run.
Yep. One that is effectively a 2-drop.
Problem is, I would
Effectively a 0-drop.
Yeah.
to be honest, I would average this at a 4 cost though. That's the thing. When I look at this, I see 4, not 6.
Yeah. But I think for Fire Earth and Fire Water, this can slot in fairly decently because there are 2 backups in each of those elements. Well, 1 for each of those elements that search this guy, Claris, and one we'll talk about later in this set because he's a job king. And
I even think Fire Lightning might find some use for him potentially.
possibly for extra pings, but if you're on average, you know, a 3 cost 7k that comes down, deals 5k, attacks, deals another 5k, make your own Zande, I guess, but we'll have to see if that deck gets any traction.
Yeah, because like it's when it attacks as well. So if
Honestly, though, it feels like Emperor Zande was like basically made obsolete about 7 or 8 sets ago. I don't see how this is going to be much better than that.
Yeah. Also, the unfortunate stats of being a 7k.
yeah,
That's one of my bigger problems with the card. It's like I don't necessarily mind the cost reduction because it's good to have things cost reduced. I don't necessarily mind that it does things when it enters and attacks. It just doesn't do enough of any of those things.
yeah, and we are also comparing it to cards like Nail and 5 cost Cloud as well.
Yeah.
Which
Fire's top end is just so stacked right now.
yeah. So I
Fire
don't
has
know.
had a stacked top end since Opus 8, but this card just feels like they put a 1 in front of an Opus 3 card and decided to try and sell it to us.
Yeah, it's like Cloud, Nail, Braskus Final Aeon, Tenzin, Rain.
Yeah, so that's why I said King might be the relevant. I think that what will make or break this card is if that type King or FFBE is what will make or break this card.
Yeah.
Because even though this is the weaker of those 2, if it's searchable or usable in that with more synergy, it will replace those other cards for that specific deck. But it comes down to that deck
Actually-
existing.
You know what? I found the best value for this rain. Pitching it for the special on the Legend Rain.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Inspiration, lads.
All right.
That's
Right,
the best use for this rain.
Yep.
That's the end of the fire set. We'll be moving on to ice.